There's a very short list of players in this entire league you genuinely never ever expect to see show up on the trade block. Not role players. Not good starters. We're talking about a current finals MVP. An all-star wing in his prime. A guy who was the best player on a championship team just 2 years ago. Players like that do not get moved. And yet, tonight on the show, Shams Charania said something that made me sit straight up because he was describing exactly that kind of player suddenly being available, and the team he connected him to was the Golden State Warriors. So stay with me, Warriors fans, because this could be the second superstar this team has needed for years. The running mate that gives Stephen Curry one last real shot at a title. Here's what Shams said, cutting right through the noise. According to sources, the Golden State Warriors have shown real interest in a blockbuster trade for Boston Celtics star Jaylen Brown, the Finals MVP and perennial All-Star wing, one of the best two-way players in the entire NBA, potentially landing in the Bay to give Curry the co-star he's been missing. Jaylen Brown in a Warriors uniform next to Stephen Curry. Read that again, because if you understand why he could suddenly be available, and you understand what this Warriors team has been missing for years, you understand why this could be one of the most significant and exciting moves of the entire offseason. And I'm here to walk you through exactly how a player of this caliber ended up potentially on the market, because it's a fascinating situation. Now, I already know some of you are going to bring up the money and the fit, and we are going to get to all of it, I promise, because I always give you the honest version. But stay with me, because pairing a Finals MVP with Stephen Curry is the kind of move that wins championships. Let me start with how Jaylen Brown could even become available, because this is the part that makes it so fascinating. For years, Brown has been a cornerstone in Boston, one half of a star duo, a player they paid like a franchise pillar after he won Finals MVP, leading them to a title. But the league shifted under everyone's feet this offseason. When a different superstar became available, the Celtics reportedly put Jaylen Brown at the center of their pursuit, offering him up as the centerpiece to land that player. That pursuit fell through, the other star went elsewhere, but the genie was already out of the bottle. Once a team signals it's willing to move a player of Brown's caliber, the rest of the league hears it loud and clear, and reporting now indicates the Celtics are actively engaged in trade talks involving Brown, with multiple teams interested. So you've got a Finals MVP, a player his own team has already shown a willingness to move, suddenly in play. That's not a rumor I'm inventing. That's a star cracking loose in real time. That right there is the crack in the door, and it is genuinely open. So now let me tell you exactly who Jaylen Brown is, because this is the part that should get you out of your seat. Jaylen Brown is one of the best two-way wings in the entire NBA, full stop. He's a multiple-time All-Star, an All-NBA player, and most importantly, an NBA champion who was named Finals MVP, the best player on the last team standing. Let that sink in. This is not a complimentary piece or a good starter. This is a guy who has already proven on the very biggest stage that basketball has to offer that he can be the single best player in an entire championship series. He's an explosive, powerful scorer who can get to the rim, knock down jumpers, and take over a game. He's a strong, versatile defender who can guard multiple positions and lock down opposing wings. He's explosively athletic, he's tough as nails, he's battle-tested in the very biggest games, and he's squarely in the prime of his career. When a player with that exact resume, a proven Finals MVP still in the prime of his career, even might become available, every single contender in the league should be sprinting straight to the phone to ask the price. So now let's talk about why this fits the Warriors so perfectly, because it solves the single biggest problem this team has had for years. But first, let me make sure you really appreciate the pedigree here, because it's the whole point. Winning Finals MVP is one of the most exclusive honors in all of sports. It means that on the single biggest stage the game has against the best the league had to offer, with everything on the line, you are the best player on the floor. Only a tiny handful of players in any generation ever earn it. Jaylen Brown did. He didn't just ride alongside a star to a title, he was named the most valuable player of the championship series itself, the guy who delivered when the lights were brightest. That proven ability to be the best version of yourself in the biggest moments is the rarest, most valuable trait in the sport, and it's exactly what the Warriors have lacked as a reliable second source next to Curry. You cannot teach it, and you almost never get a chance to acquire it. So the fact that a proven Finals MVP still in his prime might be on the market at all is the entire reason this is such an enormous story for a team in Golden State's position. Here's the situation in Golden State. We are in the final act of one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. Stephen Curry is still absolutely magnificent, but the clock on his prime is ticking louder than ever, and the Warriors are coming off a season where they look far closer to a play-in team than a true championship contender. And the one thing this roster has lacked for the entire back half of the Curry era is a genuine second superstar, a true co-star who can create his own offense, carry the scoring load when Curry rests, and be a real number 2 option when the playoffs slow everything down and the half-court game gets hard. Curry has desperately needed a genuine co-star to chase one more ring before the window closes for good. And Jaylen Brown is exactly that, an elite, athletic, two-way wing who can be a primary scorer and a lockdown defender. Imagine pairing the greatest shooter who has ever lived with a proven Finals MVP wing right in the heart of his prime. Imagine the defense having to account for Curry's gravity and Brown's downhill attacking at the same time. Imagine Brown taking the single toughest defensive assignment every single night so that Curry can conserve his energy for the offensive end where the Warriors need him most. And imagine having a guy who can simply go get you a bucket in a playoff series when the Warriors' beautiful motion offense bogs down, which has been their Achilles heel for years. On talent and fit, this is the co-star this team has been searching for, the kind of pairing that vaults Golden State right back into the championship picture. And let me go a layer deeper on that fit, because the two-man geometry is genuinely scary. Defenses already warped the entire floor to chase Stephen Curry, sending 2 and 3 bodies at him, bending themselves out of shape just to keep the ball out of his hands. Now drop in a powerful downhill Finals MVP. The instant the defense overcommits to Curry, Brown is attacking a scrambling out-of-position defense, and there is no good answer. Help off Brown to deal with Curry, and Brown is dunking on you or getting to the line. Stay home on Brown, and Curry buries the 3, and Brown doesn't need the ball to hurt you. He's a brilliant cutter and finisher who would feast on the open lanes and looks that Curry's gravity creates. Then flip it to the other end. The Warriors could put Brown on the opponent's best perimeter scorer every single night, taking that exhausting assignment off Curry and Draymond and letting them conserve energy. A spacing and gravity nightmare on offense, an elite stopper on defense. That is exactly the two-way co-star this roster has been missing for the entire back half of the Curry era. So now let's talk about how this would actually work, because this is the complicated part, and I won't sugarcoat it. Brown is owed a massive salary, one of the biggest in the entire league, and the Warriors are operating in restrictive financial territory, jammed up against the aprons that limit how they can build. To match that kind of money in a trade, they'd have to send out significant salary and construct a complicated package, almost certainly moving multiple players and draft assets. This would be a major franchise-altering trade, no question, but the Warriors have shown time and again that they will get aggressive and creative to add a star when they believe their window is open. When the prize is a proven Finals MVP standing next to Stephen Curry, the sheer degree of difficulty doesn't scare a team like this one bit. If anything, it motivates them, and let me hammer on the urgency, because it's what makes a swing this bold defensible for Golden State. The Warriors just missed the playoffs. Let that sink in. With one of the greatest players who ever lived on the roster, they watched the postseason from home. That is not a situation that rewards caution or patience. Every single season now is precious. Another year of Stephen Curry's twilight that you simply cannot afford to waste, and the alternative to a bold swing isn't some safer path back to contention. It's very likely another disappointing season that quietly burns another year of an all-time great's prime. When you frame it that way, the real risk isn't trading a big package for a Finals MVP. The real risk is standing pat with a roster that already proved it wasn't good enough and letting Curry's final chapter slip away with a whimper. A team that truly believes its window is still cracked open has to be willing to do something dramatic to pry it back open, and landing a Finals MVP in his prime is exactly that kind of move. But I told you I'd be honest, so let's take the doubts head on, because on this one, they are real. The first objection is the money and the apron. Matching a salary this large while navigating the apron rules would be extremely difficult, requiring the Warriors to part with significant salary and depth. That's the biggest hurdle, no question. But difficult is not impossible, and the Warriors have found creative ways to add star talent before. When the ultimate prize is a true proven co-star for Curry's final championship window, the difficulty should only motivate you, never stop you. The second objection is the cost in assets and depth. To land a player this good, you'd have to give up real players and picks, which could thin out the roster around Curry and Brown. Fair, but star power wins in the playoffs, and a top-heavy team with two genuine stars and the right role players is exactly how titles get won in the modern NBA. The Warriors would be betting that 2 stars plus their system beats depth, and that's a bet a contender should be willing to make. The third objection is the fit and the shot distribution. Curry, Brown, and Draymond Green would all need touches and roles to be defined. Some will ask whether Brown's game, which can be ball dominant, meshes perfectly with Curry's. It's a fair question. But Brown is also a phenomenal off-ball cutter and finisher who would thrive feeding off Curry's gravity, and his defense alone makes the fit worth it. 2 genuine stars who attack a defense in completely different ways almost always tend to make each other better, not worse, especially in a system as smart as Golden State's. So let me tell you where my head is at, and then I've got one final thought that I think is the real key to all of this. If the Warriors pull this off, they finally give Stephen Curry the genuine second superstar he's needed to chase one more title, and they do it by pouncing on a rare, real-time opportunity to land a Finals MVP in his prime. Picture it. Curry and Brown on the floor together at the same time, one bending entire defenses with otherworldly shooting and gravity, the other attacking downhill, finishing through contact, and locking down the other team's best player on the other end. Whether it wins a title depends on the money and the fit, and that's the real debate. But the ceiling of a Curry-Brown pairing is a genuine championship, and for a franchise that owes Curry everything, that's a swing absolutely worth taking. And here's the thought I want to leave you with. The part almost nobody is connecting. The rarest opportunity in basketball is the chance to add a true two-way superstar in his prime, a player who can be the best guy in a finals series. Those players almost never become available because the teams that have them never let them go. But every so often, a strange chain reaction, a star pursuit that leads a team to dangle its own champion, cracks open a door that should never be open. That is exactly what's happening with Jaylen Brown right now. And the Warriors, with a rapidly closing championship window and a desperate, years-long need for a genuine second star, are exactly the kind of team that should be sprinting, not walking, to take advantage of it. When a Finals MVP might come loose, and you're a team running out of time with an all-time great, you find out the price, and the opportunity is sitting right there. So let me boil it all the way down for you, because I want this crystal clear. A franchise in the final act of an all-time dynasty coming off a missed playoffs with a years-long gaping hole at second star next to Curry. A proven Finals MVP in his prime, an elite two-way wing who fills that exact need and gives Curry a real co-star and a rare real-time chance to get him because of a chain reaction nobody saw coming. The money and the apron are real, brutal obstacles, and the cost in depth would sting. But how many times in the back half of this dynasty have the Warriors wished a genuine second superstar would fall into their lap? Now one might, and the only question is whether they're bold and creative enough to go get him. Safe already got them a missed playoffs. When you owe Stephen Curry one more real shot, the bold swing is the right kind of swing. I'm not telling you it's signed. I have no reporting that says the ink is dry, and I am never going to make something up for you because the only reason you keep coming back to me is that I shoot you straight, even when the honest version includes very real concerns about the money, the apron, and the cost in depth. Those concerns are real, and this would be a hard, complicated deal. But I am telling you, the talent is real, the fit next to Curry is spectacular, and a Finals MVP in his prime is the rarest kind of co-star. And tonight, Shams Charania put the Warriors right into the middle of that conversation, live on national television for everyone to hear. You stack all of that up, the talent and the fit, and the fact that a Finals MVP is genuinely on the market, and even with all the financial hurdles, you can't help but want them to find a way, can you? So here's what I need from you. Keep your phone close over the next few weeks, because once a star of this magnitude is genuinely in play, a deal can come together fast. Remember where you were when you heard this, because if it happens, you'll want to remember the night the Warriors landed Curry's last superstar running mate. And tell me down below, do you do it? If you're the Warriors, do you move the assets and navigate the apron to pair a Finals MVP with Curry for one last run? Or do you decide the cost and assets and the fit questions are simply too much and run it back one more time? I really want to hear it, because this one splits people right down the middle. The fans who say you do absolutely whatever it takes for Curry against the ones who think the apron makes it pure fantasy. Because somewhere in the Bay tonight, a front office that owes everything to Stephen Curry is staring at a chance to land the co-star it has chased for years. And somewhere in Boston, a team that has already stunningly put its own Finals MVP on the table is sitting back and quietly waiting to see who comes calling with the boldest possible offer. I'll be watching every single second of this one. And the moment anything moves, you already know I'll be right back here to break it all down for you, every single detail of it. Stay close, Dub Nation. Sometimes the second star you've spent years desperately searching for shakes loose in the strangest, most unexpected way imaginable. And the bold teams are the ones already ready to pounce the very instant he does.